Hello and welcome to today's episode, which is all about raising our potato game several notches. The festive season is on the horizon. We're currently in mid-November, so I thought I'd show you how to make a potato dish, just a bit of a variety on the usual roasties, mash, that kind of thing. And then it's going to be perfect for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, that kind of thing, but then also for the rest of the year. The lengthiest part of the prep is probably going to be peeling the potatoes, because then we just chop them down, put them in a pan, fry them off for a few minutes each side, chuck in a load of butter and then some stock and let it cook down so they're really nice and tender, kind of melting. I'm going to do mine start to finish on the stove. You can start it on the stove and then put it in the oven if you want, up to you. I've peeled all the potatoes already because you don't really need to watch me do that. And I'm just warming up some oil, sunflower oil in the pan. I've got 7 medium-sized potatoes here. These are Vivaldi, which are a semi-waxy one. You can also use Maris Piper, that kind of thing. So what we're going to end up with is thick slabs of the potato. So we're going to want to cut off any really pointy parts. So I'm going to take that off. So then we've got quite a nice bit of surface area. Because of the size of potato that I've got, I'm going to go for kind of that size. Obviously, if you've got bigger ones, do thicker slabs, that's fine. You want them roughly equal height because that will help get an even cook through them all. You can also buy really big potatoes and then use a pastry ring to punch out completely circular discs if you want them to be, perfectly circular. So that's my little slabs all cut. You can see they're more or less the same height. There's a couple that are a little bit smaller, a couple that are shorter, but it should be okay. So there's probably a tablespoon or so of oil in there. Now that's come up to temperature. I'm going to drop the potatoes in. The amount of potatoes you do is going to be somewhat dictated by the size of your pan, or you can do it in batches as well. You don't want to completely crowd it because you need to turn the potatoes over, so if you've got them stuffed in there, it's going to be really tricky to flip them over. So now we'll let these cook until they're golden, probably 5 to 7 minutes each side. So I've got this on a 6, mine goes up to 9. While the potatoes are frying off, I'm going to mix up some stock. I use the Mussel plant-based. I'm going to go for chicken flavour, but you can use anything you like. Because of the size of that pan, it's a 30 centimetre pan, I'm going to make up quite a bit of stock. I don't think I'll need nearly that much, but I'd rather have too much than not enough and then need to put more in. So I'll add 2 heaped teaspoons of the chicken flavour. Well, let's do 3. And then I'll add in some boiling water. I've done 700 mils. It just needs to be enough that it comes quite far up the side of the potatoes. Back to the taters. So what I'm going to do is start looking at the bottoms just to see if they're colouring equally. Because this burner is only a 28 centimetre. So it's kind of, the pan is 2 centimetres bigger. So they're not going to cook as evenly as I'd like. So any that are more coloured, I'll put on the outside, and the less so ones I'll bring into the middle. Yeah, like that one's got a really nice amount of colour on it. Once these have been flipped, I'm then going to make up some nice aromatic bits, a bit of garlic and rosemary. Yeah, so I'm going to flip them over. And then we'll just repeat that on the other side. I'm going to move them in the pan just to get some of that oil on the other side as well. And then I've got 3 little sprigs of rosemary there, fresh rosemary. And I'll probably do half a head of garlic. Yeah, so I've pulled out kind of half a bulb of garlic. So I'm just going to take them out of the outer skin, but I'll leave the inner skin. Pull off any very loose bits. These are looking fairly even now. Oh, no, that needs a bit of attention. I keep getting oil flying up into the lens, so apologies if everything's been blurry. So now I'm going to add in the rosemary and garlic. And then I've got 200 grams of unsalted vegan butter. This is obviously not a dish you want to be eating every day. But for special occasions, we'll have a load of butter. Why not? So I'm going to try and tuck this in between the potatoes so it starts melting. Let that butter melt down. Yeah, so I definitely won't need that quantity of stock, but that's fine. In terms of herbs, you can use any woody type herb. Things like thyme will work really nicely. You could pop a bit of sage in there as well. Not too much, because sage is quite a powerful herb. Maybe I should have added the butter in a bit at a time, because that's an awful lot. Because I looked online to find a recipe and it said 200 grams. But yeah, I should have maybe done 100 grams, maybe 150. But we'll let it cook down a little bit and see what happens. A lot of that volume is bubbles though, because it's foaming up quite a bit. Just moving the potatoes around just to make sure nothing unequal happens. So I'm going to carefully pour some of the stock in. This is probably going to sizzle and splash, so keep your face well back. And that's another good reason for getting the potatoes equal size, because you can see a couple of them are fully submerged, but you want the top of them to kind of stay dry, and then it will caramelize a little bit almost. I might try and push these shorter ones up to the sides a little bit, just to try and force them out of the liquid. I mean, they look stunning already. Now this stock powder's got a nice amount of salt in it anyway, so I'm not going to add any extra salt, but feel free to add a bit more if you want. But I will add a little bit of black pepper. And then I'm just going to baste the top of them. If you're using a non-stick pan, just be really careful when you put anything metal in there. Try not to scrape it on the bottom or anything. And then I'm going to drop the heat to a simmer, so I'll put it on 4, maybe drop it to 3 later. Put a lid on and just let that bubble away, cooking nice and gently. These are going to take between, I guess, 15 and 30 minutes, depending on how thick they are. I've set my timer for 15, and then we'll see what it's looking like at that point. So I'm going to poke the tip of a knife in, and if it goes in really easily without any force, then we know it's ready. I'm going to keep my eye on it a little bit through the lid just to make sure it doesn't dry out, so I might have to add more of the stock in. So I'd always make a little bit more than you need, just in case. Yeah, and then we'll do some eating in a few minutes. Potatoes have had about 20 minutes. I just wanted to kind of burn off some of the liquid, just so it was more of a thick liquid around them. So let's have a look. So I'm going in with the pointy end of a knife. You can see it just glides in. I'm being restrained just so I don't hit the bottom of the pan. But yeah, lovely and tender and soft. Let's eat one. I took the garlic out after maybe 10 minutes or so, because you don't want the garlic to burn, because it's going to taste really bitter and spoil the dish. But it goes really soft like that, which is absolutely delicious. If you were serving it for a dinner party kind of scenario, you could put all of the potatoes, arrange them nicely on a dish, and then scatter the garlic over the top of it, that kind of thing. If I stick a fork in, you'll hopefully see how easily that cuts. Yum. I am looking forward to this, let me tell you. Yum. That's stunning. It's nice and rich from the butter, and there's a nice bit of salty umami-ness from the stock, and it just melts in the mouth. Yeah, that's incredible. The potatoes are an amazing side dish. I mean, it depends on how much work, how much cooking you like doing midweek, but I'd say probably start to finish an hour, something like that, including prep and washing down and everything. So it's not totally undoable, but it's definitely a very nice dinner party thing when you want to impress people and, you know, give them a proper good feeding. I reckon it probably also worked quite nicely almost as a dish in its own right. So you could do maybe some tofu scramble and have that over the top of them, or some garlic mushrooms, that kind of thing. And that same technique's going to work really well with other root vegetables. I'm trying to remember if I've ordered a celeriac in the shopping that I've got coming today. So what I might actually do is sieve the liquid that's in there, just to get the bits of rosemary and any toasted bits of potato out, and then kind of filter it down almost, and then do the same thing with a celeriac, cut that into slabs. Yeah, I think that's going to be incredible, because the celeriac's quite sweet, so I think that's going to go beautifully. Ooh, I'm drooling. Same with carrots, turnip, swede, I want to say rutabaga in the States. It's like the very hard, pale vegetable. Anything that's quite a sturdy veg will handle that kind of cooking technique. If you wanted to do fondant carrots, what might be really nice is to buy some carrot juice or juice your own at home and use that in place of the stock, and that will really boost up the kind of carroty, delicious sweetness that they have. I think that'd be incredible. And you could also possibly pop in a little bit of maple syrup, maybe some coriander seeds, that kind of thing. I'll link to the brown butter carrots that I did just to give you a bit of inspiration for that as well. If you've got leftovers and you want to reheat them, if you've still got some of the liquid, then just heat it back up in there in a pan. You could probably do it in the air fryer or in the oven. Microwave, it'll work, but I doubt it'll be as tasty. When it comes to preparing it, I've had a quick look online and apparently you can make them ahead of time. I haven't tried it, so I can't tell you how well it'll work. But the recommendation is to take it up to, I think, the butter stage, do the butter stage, and then cool everything down, cover it and refrigerate it for up to a day. So you could, if you're doing it on Thanksgiving, for example, or Christmas Day, do it on the Wednesday or Christmas Eve, and then just pour in hot stock and then take it from that point. So it shaves off that bit of time on the day itself for you, just to free you up a little bit more, because cooking's already frantic when you're doing these huge meals. I'm going to say hello and a great big thank you to my community over on Patreon. It's really nice having a little place for people to gather and access some behind the scenes content, craft project progress, that kind of thing. We've also got a TV and film recommendation chat going on. I'll leave the link to that down in the description if you want to get in on some of that action. If you'd like some more vegan recipes that are guaranteed to knock the socks off your dinner guests, like this video and then subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications if you want to be alerted as soon as they're ready. And then while you're waiting for next week's, feast your eyes on this.